Lando Norris is the Formula One World Champion! Norris wins the title in 2025. To call yourself the champion, you have to still be standing.
Lando Norris wasn't supposed to win the championship, but here we are a few days after the final race of the season, and Lando Norris is the new world champion. But he only won the championship by 2 points. Yes, 2. Before the summer break, he wasn't even the favorite to win. It was his own teammate, Oscar Piastri. And then, at the very last minute, Max finally showed up into the picture and almost ruined the championship hopes. But here's how Lando survived the 2025 season. For the top 3 drivers this season, it was nothing short of sensational to watch all of them. Oscar Piastri took a nice, comfortable lead at the start of the season, just for everything to go wrong after Azerbaijan. And then Lando stepped in and started winning race after race until he didn't. And then Max went on some legendary run that only a 4-time world champion could go on, completing the last half of the season on the podium for every single race. From the Netherlands to Abu Dhabi, he was on the podium every single time. And that's what almost cost McLaren and Lando his championship. But when we take a look at the numbers, we can see that Lando's championship title was never really in trouble. And here's why. We start the season in Australia with Lando finishing P1, Max finishing P2, and Oscar Piastri finishing in P9. Now, the reason that Piastri finished so low was because during one of the turns, he slid off the track and wasn't able to recover. Next, we go to China, and there we start to see a glimpse of Piastri's success, with Piastri finishing in P1, Norris in P2, and Verstappen in P4. Then to Japan, Max P1, Norris P2, Piastri P3. After Japan, we start to see Oscar Piastri's dominance, where he goes on a 3-win race streak in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and then Miami. Lando Norris had a strong stint throughout those races, finishing P2, P3, and P4 in those respective races. At this point, we start to see Max struggle a little bit because he only finishes on the podium 1 out of the 3 races.
Information, you have been given a 5-second time penalty for the incident at turn 1. Head down.
Oh, that is
Max.
lovely.
No comment. Thank you.
Next up is Imola, where we see a strong showing for all the top 3 drivers. Verstappen P1, Norris P2, Piastri P3. Monaco is another strong showing for all the drivers, where we have Norris finishing P1, Piastri finishing P3, and Max P4. And then we're off to Spain, where Verstappen's championship hopes start to slide further because Max only gets P10 in this race because he collides with Russell for a time penalty. But right after Spain, Lando crashes into his own teammate in Canada for the first DNF of the season. And this is the first crack that we start to see in Lando's fairly strong start to the season. Meanwhile, Oscar finishes P4 and Max finishes P2. At this point, this is where Max spirals further with a DNF in Austria, while McLaren gets a 1-2. And in Silverstone, there's another McLaren 1-2. And then in Belgium, there's another McLaren 1-2. And then in the Netherlands, we have a Norris DNF, Piastri wins, and Max takes home P2. It's at this point of the season where Piastri is so unbelievably ahead of Max that he's not even in title contention. He's only 34 points ahead of Lando. But for Lando, this is where the championship is ripe and for the taking between the top 2 drivers. But Piastri has shown, at least so far this season, that he's the stronger driver up to this point. But this is where everything changes. In Italy, Verstappen goes P1, Piastri goes P3, and Lando goes P2. And then Azerbaijan. This is the real turning point, in my opinion, because Piastri gets his first DNF of the season. After he jumps the start, he just can't recover. Lando gets P7, and Max gets P1. Now at this point, I want to expand that chart that I showed you earlier, just to show you what changed after Azerbaijan. And all of a sudden, this became Lando's championship after Piastri's DNF. In Singapore, Max finishes P2, Lando finishes P3, and Oscar finishes P4. Then we go to the United States in Austin, and Max gets P1, Lando gets P2, Oscar gets P5. Then, on to Mexico, Lando P1, Max P3, Oscar again in P5. But after that disqualification in Las Vegas, it gets really interesting in Qatar because Lando was running P5 until Kimi Antonelli went off the track, which caused Lando to go ahead on that last lap, giving him P4. Now, this does cause the whole controversy where Red Bull stated that, oh, it looks like Kimi just let Lando through.
Not sure what happened to Antonelli, Max. Looks like he just pulled over and let Norris through.
And of course, after Abu Dhabi, Lando took the title. But his performance throughout the season was incredibly consistent, and it was nothing short of a very stellar season. Norris only finished outside of the podium 3 times this whole season, not counting the 2 DNFs and the disqualification. Lando had a fantastic run, and I feel like that's what makes this championship so unique. See, Max was out of the title talk until after the summer break, and then he went on that insane run of wins and on the podiums. And Piastri, we thought he was going to win until Azerbaijan. Now, sure, between McLaren there was some complications, and could have McLaren been favoring Lando? We'll 100% never know, but people can speculate all they want because we're fans, we have nothing better to do. Lando won 8 races. He was on the podium 18 times. He overcame the 2 DNFs and that disqualification so late in the season, and not to mention, he was battling his own prodigy teammate from the start of the season. It's been a few days since Abu Dhabi, and I've seen about 100 comment sections filled with the Lando Norris and Chick Hicks picture, and to some extent, I could see why Max fans are slightly upset, because they were given this sense of almost false hope for this insurmountable comeback that Max had to pull off in order to win his 5th title. He just fell short. There's a reason no drivers ever come back this far to win the championship. A lot of fans wanted him to do a Michael Schumacher and win 5 in a row, but Max can't dominate forever. He wasn't even favored until Red Bull started coming back and McLaren started messing up. Lando wasn't the fastest in every session, and he wasn't the favorite until after the spring break. And he didn't have a perfect season either. He has also been in his own share of controversy this year with his own teammate and from past years. And then outside of McLaren, there was Kimi and Max, and that whole controversy too. And then the pass off the track in the final race, the 20-second time penalty people say that he should have gotten. But what title doesn't come with a controversy? We all remember 2021. Now, whether you like the outcome of the 2025 season, Lando did it, and nobody did it for him. Now, sure, there will always be arguments or memes about McLaren sacrificing Piastri so Lando could win, but all of that aside, Lando, at the end of the day, is the man who's in the driver's seat. Lando never gave up when he had every opportunity to. He fought against his own nerves. The Lando no wins title that hovered over him for years until just last year, and now he's a world champion. Night after night, week after week, for months on end, and hundreds of high-speed miles later, Lando Norris did it. He reached Formula One paradise with a world championship. Lando Norris wasn't supposed to win this championship, but he did anyway.